Before me and my family started to host Thanksgiving, my grandma used to. And every year she would serve an Italian wedding soup as a little kind of first course before the real Thanksgiving dinner. And since then we haven't really made Italian wedding soup for a holiday in a long time, but today we're gonna change that and we're gonna make my grandma's Italian wedding soup. Thanksgiving season has begun, so let's just jump right into it. Italian wedding soup is essentially a meatball soup with vegetables. It's not really served at weddings, apparently. It more or less signifies like a marriage between the meatball and vegetables. And besides the meatballs, one of the main ingredients is escargot. And now I know this may look like lettuce to you, but it's actually not. It's actually an endive, part of the chicory family. And it's more of like a bitter green. It's more bitter than a lettuce, but less bitter than like an endive. So it's like a middle ground, and it can be cooked and it's delicious and it goes into this soup. You could use chicory, you could use kale, you could use chard, you could use spinach. Any sort of leafy green that can be cooked is gonna work in this, especially a bitter one. But we need to get this clean. So I'm gonna chop it up into bite-sized pieces and get it washed. It needs to get washed a couple times. It's a big head. It can get a lot of kind of stuff stuck in between it, a lot of dirt, some insects. So you want to get it thoroughly rinsed off. So we have that cleaned and cut. We're gonna put that off to the side. Now we've got some mirepoix, which is carrot, celery, onion. We're just gonna chop it up into a small dice, something that just fits nicely on the spoon. I'm saving all of my little ends and stuff like that for another recipe down the road. So onion tops, carrot tops, celery, potato skins, all that kind of stuff. Mushroom stems, hold on to those. About this, off to the side. So now we gotta make the meatballs, and right here I have a pound of veal. Now that's what she used. You don't have to use that. You could use beef, you could use pork, you could use sausage, ground chicken, ground turkey, whatever you want, but this is what she used, so I'm gonna use it. And I'm gonna make it just like my meatballs. So follow along, very simple. I'm gonna get my veal in here, then I'm gonna make my little sludge in here. So in here is gonna go some cream, 1 egg, salt and pepper, breadcrumb, pecorino romano cheese. You can use Parmesan, but Pecorino is saltier. It's gonna help flavor the beef from within a little bit better, I find. We're gonna grate in some garlic. And some fresh chopped parsley. You can do it really rough. Just gonna add a touch more cream. You see, you can take a little bit more moisture. I'm gonna start to work that mixture into the meatballs. You want to roll these into really tiny meatballs, maybe like a 1/2 inch. You could probably go even smaller than this. You just really want to be able to fit like 2 to 3 on the spoon when you eat the soup. So we've got our meatballs here. We've got our scatol nicely cut. We've got our vegetables cut. We've got our brodo or chicken stock, chicken broth, whatever you've got. And we've got some pasta. You don't need to add pasta. In fact, a lot of recipes don't call for pasta. I like to add pasta and everything, and my choice today is ditalini. We're ready to go. Before we do that, we need to thank our sponsor today, me, and my holiday plan of attack. For me, November sparks the beginning of the holiday season. Every year, I put together what is called my holiday plan of attack with all of my holiday recipes, some little stories about myself, some prep guides on timing and when to do what, appetizers, all my recipes, nicely organized into probably what will eventually become a book. It's a downloadable item that's always on my website, and when you purchase it, you get a yearly pass that renews every year, and it always has the most up-to-date version of the plan of attack. 2 ways to access it. You can purchase it directly from my website, $15 a year, or if you're become a Patreon member, link down below, you're gonna get it for free. So everyone who's already a patron member is gonna get this for free. The link is already up on the Patreon, so you can access this and start planning your thing. So if you want to check it out, the link is down below. All month up until the end of the year, basically, we're all holiday, just so we're all on the same page. Let's go make the soup. In a large soup pot on medium heat, add a couple tablespoons of olive oil and sweat the onions, carrots, and celery until softened and the onions are nice and translucent. We don't want any color to develop. Season with a little bit of salt. This should take around 10 to 15 minutes, so just take your time with it. Once the vegetables have softened, then you're going to add about 8 cups of chicken stock or your homemade BRODO, and then you're going to top it off with around 4 cups of fresh water. Bring it up to a boil and then drop that down to a simmer and then let those vegetables cook for a good 10-15 minutes. This soup doesn't cook very long, so you want to make sure the vegetables are tender before adding the meatballs. Taste the soup at this point and then adjust the seasoning before we cook the meatballs in the broth. You can also season that boiling pasta water as well. When the vegetables have had enough time to cook in the broth, drop the meatballs in. And they're going to cook in about 10 to 15 minutes. They're kind of going to float as they cook. You want to make sure you don't boil these or they might break up the meatballs. Keep it on a nice simmer, and when they start to float, then they're going to be done. Now you can drop about a half a pound of the ditalini, and we're going to serve that separately. I'll save that other half for another round of soup later. Now that the meatballs have pretty much cooked, we can add the escarole, and we're going to cook that for a minute or two and then just let that steep in the soup while we bring the rest of the meal together. So we're just going to turn the heat off on the soup. By now the pasta should be perfectly al dente. We're going to drain that, get it into a bowl, and plate the soup up. It's a great soup. The meatballs are fantastic. The escarole or the escarole is delicious. It doesn't wilt like you would think a lettuce looking thing would. It has some bite, almost like a bok choy would have bite after it's cooked. It's like juicy. It's really good. So there you have it. Grandma's Italian wedding soup. Get your plan of attack. Link is down below. All the money that comes from the sale of this goes to help pay people who behind the scenes help make this show possible. Let me know in the link down below if you already have it, if you had it last year, if you thought it was valuable, if you're getting it again this year. Let me know what you think. All the links are down in the description as always. Thanks so much to my patrons scrolling up on the screen. You guys get my holiday plan of attack for free. So don't forget to go download the link over on Patreon. That's all that I have today. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourself and go feed yourself.